back with this live, and this time we have a very special guest joining us from New York. She's very famously known for her crypto and blockchain videos. You can follow her on Twitter. She's kind of famous, and in this live sessions, we're gonna talk about what's happening with crypto these days, especially for this COVID-19. Do not expect this session to be very technical because neither I am technical person in this blockchain. We're going to answer some really consumer based questions on how you should be using blockchain in your day-to-day life. Let's forget about coding for this section. And I think let's just straight away dive and bring Rachel in this session. Hi, Rachel, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. Thank you for having me. Great introduction.
Oh yeah. So like I was preparing like how should I introduce Rachel? So what I did, I went to your Twitter, I went to your Facebook, I went to your YouTube, and I watched almost all your videos. Like I just watched each and every single video, and I
Thank
could
you.
figure out like who is Rachel. So I think you can go ahead and introduce yourself a lot and talk about where you're joining and what do you do.
So, as you said earlier in your wonderful introduction, crypto finally is the handle that I go by, and I make accessible content for the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency community, as well as people who are looking to get involved in blockchain. I really target a common consumer audience and a younger audience and try to find new ways that we can actually access outside demographics and get them involved in this technology.
That's great. I mean, I think you're focusing more on this young people, maybe millennials, right? To get
Yeah,
yeah.
but unfortunately, the millennials were getting older.
You don't want to tell that on a live show, like millennials getting older. Well, I'm still young. I'm not even my 25 now. I'm less than 25,
I
but
don't know.
still.
Are you technically a millennial then? But I,
So Rachel, how is this when you talk about blockchain and this cryptocurrency, especially this COVID-19 and this lockdown? Are you in lockdown now?
yes, actually. So I'm in New York City still right now. And so what Governor Cuomo has done is something that they're calling pause, which is that
Mm-hmm.
all non-essential workers are mandated to stay home. And that's
Mm-hmm.
currently in effect until May 15th. I don't know if they're looking at changing it. But last I saw, yes, I'm in a lockdown and quarantine until the 15th.
Yeah, I think we can see all of your live videos coming at the same place and mine also at the same place. Nothing's changing. Only I think the frame changing, people are changing. That's all. We all are at the same place.
Interesting topic on that is you've been seeing a lot of that on television as well with newscasters and late night TV that they're all streaming from home too. So that's an interesting change.
I don't know. Maybe if you notice it or not. Maybe the other day there was a blooper. A guy was doing a live from home, and he just forgot to do a better. He had a wardrobe malfunction. So this does happen when you go live from home, right? So
It's true. It's true. A lot of people who are used to having live television sets who are now streaming from home aren't really used to the issues that arise. But yeah.
so how Rachel, how has this actually affected this COVID-19 has affected blockchain and all cryptocurrency? Is the trades going up or it is the same or it's showing some fluctuations? How would you see this going if the lockdown doesn't end?
Well, I think that we've actually seen a lot of interesting stuff since COVID started. So initially, at the same time that obviously we saw the stock market sort of crash, we saw Bitcoin go down very, very low. So right at that time of fear, no one knew what was happening next, and we were just starting to sort of hear about COVID. There was a strong reaction at that time, which we have regained. It's fixed itself since then. But I primarily think that this COVID quarantine and what's going on is actually providing primary sort of use cases for blockchain technology outside of the market cap itself. I mean, right now we're seeing a lot of gains. You know, Bitcoin has been going up smoothly for the last like 3 days, solid. You know, a few $1,000s. I honestly don't keep direct track of the Bitcoin prices itself because I'm more of a long-term investor with sort of short-term, like low-level profits. I'm not a big whale who's investing a ton of money into short calls. But what I think is interesting at this time, again, outside of the market itself, would be the use cases that are arising for blockchain and cryptocurrency during this crisis, which are things like people being able to earn money from home, blockchain technology really benefiting content creators, people who have lost jobs and need new ways to monetize, things like that. I think it's a really interesting time for that.
I hope my boss is not watching and he may find, Stephen, you're finding a blockchain better way, so you better leave a job and find a way in blockchain and make some money from home. Maybe he's not watching us. So,
Well, you know, it's true. And I talk about this a lot, but something that's really important about blockchain is what it provides is legitimacy. And so people use a lot of rhetoric to try and explain what that sort of legitimacy means. But essentially, it's transparency. You know what's happening and everybody has the same set of information. And I think that that becomes very valuable at a time like this, where there's a lot of questions about validity, things to be true, and as well as the concept of, you know, monetizing from home, being able to say, hey, this is mine, and follow it through the blockchain is benefiting a lot of creators in a lot of ways.
exactly. I think during this time, blockchain is gonna, find a lot of ecosystem, explore this ecosystem, right, and find different ways to explore. Having said that, Rachel, let us go back in the timeline, and I think I want you to tell me and explain that how this blockchain and this cryptocurrency really take a boom. I think when I was in my college back in 2017, maybe everyone started downloading this crypto app, they started investing it. But before 2017, I really never heard about it. So can you just give a brief idea on what is that reason that this market has all of a sudden gained so much of traffic?
So I think there's a lot of sort of evident reasons. The reason in 2017 that you probably heard a lot about it is big media sources. Obviously, when that bull run happened and a lot of people made a lot of money very quickly, there was something to report on. But what was also interesting about 2017, as a historical time for blockchain and Bitcoin, would be the way overall that it was being portrayed in mass media. And that goes beyond news reporting on market caps. We're looking at the first ever sort of celebrity licensing when it comes to Bitcoin. So for the first time ever, a mass consumer culture was having Bitcoin and blockchain put in front of them. So people who, you know, obviously were mining Bitcoin, people who were developers, who were coding, who were creating blockchain based applications, they already knew what was going on. But come 2017, Paris Hilton's talking about Bitcoin. And a lot of people who had not yet been exposed to this technology were in fact exposed by these celebrities. Now, was it necessarily something that helped the technology? No. Was it something that necessarily really benefit the community from the angle of growth? Maybe, and that would just have to do with overall exposure. Now, it might not be the source that we're looking for. It might not be the perfect example, but things like Katy Perry getting her nails done with Monero on them, or DJ Khaled talking about the Centra card, which he later got indicted for, but that's not really the point. The point isn't really what happened after the fact. The point is that there was a huge burst of people who suddenly had this interest in what is Bitcoin and what is cryptocurrency. And I think that a lot of that had to do with the way that it was being portrayed in mainstream media and the adaptation of the cryptocurrency culture to a mainstream audience, rap music, movies, television, things like that.
And I think I remember I was watching your content the other day. You also introduced about that Mike Tyson coming with its own ATM Bitcoin machine,
Yeah.
right? So that was only this was all fake. It was just a company started 4 months back. Maybe they just wanted to put up a market for the this blockchain. But here's something, Rachel. You come from United States. I'm joining from India, right? We come from two different geographic locations. How easy it is for you to do a transaction in cryptocurrency, and how it is tough for anyone to move from paper currency to cryptocurrency.
So it's fairly simple. I mean, I don't know what all the regulations look like in India, but I know here I'm also in New York, which is one of the like most highly regulated locations to be in the United States when it comes to cryptocurrency. Many applications I'm actually not allowed to use. So like a lot of those really big starters, like the ones that people are always talking about, where they can earn interest or get all these things, those don't apply to me in New York. But as far as simply buying, it's fairly easy, and there are applications that are consumer known, Coinbase, even Cash App now, where you link your bank or you link a credit or debit card, and you can pretty simply purchase Bitcoin within those apps, and then move it around as a simple transaction. You put in your cryptocurrency address, and that's about it. I mean, it really is quite simple. And it's more simple when you use these sort of consumer friendly applications. Like it can get complicated trying to learn a whole new application that's dedicated to cryptocurrency and blockchain. And it's just your first time trying to buy Bitcoin. So I recommend, if it's your first endeavor, to look into something simple like Cash App. It's not a fan favorite in the cryptocurrency community. And I would then recommend removing the crypto to, have your own keys, have your own coins. It's a whole like whirlwind that we'll get into with this. But the purchase process, pretty simple.
Uh, Talking about making the process simple, Rachel, I use many e-wallets. It may be sometime PayPal. It may be in India we have Paytm, or it may be anything. When I use Ola and Uber, I have my all e-wallets connected, so it all the transactions go on the fly. How is cryptocurrency also the same? I mean, if I'm using Uber in New York, so can I make payment to Uber using this cryptocurrency?
No, not necessarily. So there are certain companies that allow e-commerce, which enables you to use cryptocurrency for your transactions. And then there are companies that haven't yet adapted it. Interesting sort of in-betweens would be companies like Fold app, where you can purchase an Uber gift card with Bitcoin and then use that gift card with Uber. But it's sort of a middleman process right now. As far as moving your Bitcoin into direct transactions, there are also a lot of companies who are creating debit cards similar to BitPay, in a way where you have a Bitcoin wallet attached to your debit card, and then you can simply swipe and use that Bitcoin. So those are options as well. But as far as a simple Bitcoin transaction to pay for your Uber, that's not really in the works yet. No.
So I think we are still in the early stage. We are still exploring this field, both blockchain and cryptocurrency. Coming back to the introduction that you gave, Rachel, you talked about you make video content, right? I think you are featured in MTV and Bloomberg. Must have been very exciting, right?
Thank you.
Maybe, not something that this show would be exciting, but yeah. So, Rachel, I think. When you go and talk about blockchain and this cryptocurrency, and when you put up your content, many times what it happens is like, I cannot make a YouTube on my own, right? I'll have to put it on YouTube, and many a times those contents just go down, right? They literally go down. Either they'll say there's a music that we don't like, either they'll say there's some words, there's some content that doesn't suits for the community. How do you, especially with the blockchain, so how do you overcome with this problem?
On YouTube specifically. So I've actually never received like a warning strike or a flag from
Hmm.
YouTube. I have received copyright, but they're permissible copyright strikes. So I've made parody videos. So I've made Bitcoin music videos, which are just fun to enjoy, and they're parodies of other music videos and other existing songs. And so I receive copyright strikes for using the background music, but because it's fair use and parody law, I'm allowed to do it and it doesn't actually impact my channel. So you should keep in mind that any soundtracks that you use, YouTube is reading that. It's reading all the soundtracks. So if you don't have the copyright to any bit of soundtrack, it could rip it. I get by because it's fair use, but if I had used a 10-second portion of the real original song, they could rip me for it. And in addition to that, you just sort of have to be careful about your wording. Have you guys been experiencing a lot of like sort of tech censorship on your live streams?
No, we don't.
I haven't really had a lot of that happen to me, but I also believe it has to do with wording. I think that a lot of people who are receiving strikes, you know, to be honest, I think that in the Bitcoin community, a lot of those videos are sort of speculative on validity, you know, and they talk about Bitcoin price rising and going down. And this could be considered financial advice, even without a disclaimer on YouTube. And I think an interesting way to think about that might be like, you know, when you tweet out all of this property belongs to me, like by copyright, Twitter can't use it. It doesn't mean Twitter can't use it. You're just saying it. And that's really what financial advice is. So yeah.
So yeah, Cindy, you have to be a little careful when you go out and create content. Give credits to the guys who this content originally belongs to, and maybe then you're good to go. One thing, Rachel, is when I hear cryptocurrency, is I feel like, hey, just go and trade, like just go and invest money, right? So, how one should have a vision towards moving towards trading, and when should one decide to? I mean, I can go come to US and start using this cryptocurrency and all that stuff, but when should one decide to trade? And should everyone trade? That's the question. Because if I'm a young guy, if I'm a college guy, I need money, right? I need to go out. So I might feel like crypto is something. So let's go and invest. So how easy it is, and what's the whole picture behind it?
I don't think trading is extremely easy. And I think that there is a lot of sort of language that's used around it that get rich quick, that make money fast, that actually becomes sort of dangerous. So yes, there is a lot of money to be made if you have a concept of what you're doing and you're willing to deal with the concept of loss. I am fairly of the mind that people who do technical analysis, barring extreme examples of people who really have spent time, years in financial sectors looking at volatile assets, practicing what they do, aside from people who really put in the time and have publicly shown that they understand the research, they understand the practice, and they understand what goes into it, I am very careful around people who offer technical analysis and trading. And the reason for that being that it is all speculative and we can put a spin on anything, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be true. And the fact of the matter is that if these traders were getting it right every time, these traders with 40,000, 50,000 followers across accounts, if they were getting it right every single time, there would be a lot of really rich people. We would already have made the money. There would be so more stories about people who've made tons of money if it really did work. And so I just say be wary about it, because there definitely are opportunities. There are definitely opportunities to make money, but I wouldn't go put all your eggs in one basket because it's dangerous. And if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you can lose money in just not understanding an acronym. It's that dangerous, you know? Like, and so just be careful of what you're doing. It's not simple. It's not cut and dry, and it's not going to be the user interface that you're used to with your technology in 2020. It's still very developer heavy. It's still very difficult. And for people who use a lot of this language, it might be easier for you to understand, but for a daily, everyday consumer, someone who's just looking to get involved with Bitcoin for the first time, the traders online give a perception of trading that is not true to what reality is. You know, they're excited about it. It's great. It's easy. You can do it yourself. Not always true. It sells, but it's not always true.
Yeah, I think I did it wrong something the other day. I did not invest in the crypto, but I invested on $10 in the normal share market. But boom, like within, I was like, I invested like $10. Then for every single trade, I was investing $1. The couple of trades I won, it gave me excitement. So I directly invested $5. I lost it. Then I again invested $5. Boom, I'm gone. so so I just lost $10 like within 10 minutes. So I think one needs an experience. Let's not just look at the what this market is talking about or the hype that many people create. Those are purely technical guys who have worked a lot in their field. They come from a good financial background. They understand charts. I don't understand chart. I saw a couple of videos with some Japanese chart. You want to look at like this, and then you want to invest when it goes.
I mean, not to mention the transparency of these characters. You know, a lot of people give off the ambiance that they live a life of affluence, but that's not necessarily true. You know, it's not necessarily true just because they look like they've made a bunch of money trading, that they actually made a bunch of money trading. And so that's important to remember too, that perception, especially on the internet, is not everything. And you don't want to lose your money because you think that someone looked cool on Twitter. You know, that's not the way you want to go out. That sucks. So be careful.
Yeah, I'll just keep noting. I'm not going to invest anytime soon, so maybe I'll learn and then I'll invest. There's a lot to learn.
What I recommend is, you know, so what I definitely do is I have long-term investments and then I have short-term investments. My short-term investments are smaller than my long-term investments because those are something I might touch on a day-to-day. Now, I'm not actively executing trades. I'm, you know, for the most part, just taking profit where it exists and using that so that I can keep the primary, you know, I keep money in Bitcoin. I get paid in Bitcoin, but I don't like to siphon it all out into US dollars because I believe in Bitcoin on a long-term scale. That being said, there's stuff you touch and there's stuff you don't touch. And I would recommend, if you want to get involved, a dollar cost average a strategy, which is just putting small amounts of money into it over time. You know, maybe instead of putting that $10 in and trading it away, you could have put that $10 into Bitcoin, and it, you know, it realistically could have been $30 today, depending when you did that. And that's just in the last year. So it's just a matter of the way you look at your investment. So I do believe in it, and I do believe in it as an opportunity. But on those short term, try to catch a like big wave. I just think that becomes dangerous.
Yeah, I think we'll come back to it later on, where I think maybe you can help us to how to get started with. You talked about maybe short-term trading and all. Maybe we can discuss about in the second half. One thing that I might question is what about the income tax? I mean, if we say that it is transparent, and I'm not sure about, I don't understand the cryptocurrency. Is it monitored by the government? If they're not monitored by the government, and how we're managing the income tax? So what's up with all this?
If you're using regulated exchanges, then it is monitored, and they'll provide you with 1099s and information about your exchange history. So that is going to be taxed. And I think that it's pretty high. I think it's something like a 30% tax. Generally, that might be specific to New York. But again, taxes for regular USD is high as well. You know, if you get paid in USD, you're still paying a pretty high tax in comparison to turning Bitcoin into USD. I'm not a tax expert. Like, don't get me wrong, taxes are not. But overall, yeah, there are tax implications, and there are questions in the cryptocurrency community about if that makes sense, if that's fair. Overall, I think that taxes are far too high, but that's just my personal opinion. That's like it's not bipartisan. So. Yes, you do need to deal with taxes. That is true.
I think cryptocurrency is still very new to many countries. There are many regulations, just the way you said, even in the United States. I'm not sure what's with India and other Asian countries. I hope people see the better side of this cryptocurrency and move beyond this paper currency that we are using now. I think we have already moved from paper currency to these digital e-wallets, and now moving to Bitcoin. I think there's one question, maybe if you could answer. I don't get it. It's asked by Devender. He says, "Do cryptocurrencies fulfill property of currency? could you recommend
I,
empirical
I don't
method that can?
understand this question.
I read it. I
couldn't
read
either.
that.
Can I
I read that,
recommend
and I couldn't get
empirical
it.
methods that can be used to test cryptocurrency? I don't think that I can. I'll just be
Yeah.
honest. I don't think that I can recommend empirical methods that can be used to test cryptocurrencies. But my reason for that answer is that I really don't understand the context or the phrasing or the word
Yeah.
empirical in this context.
So,
So
so,
that's me.
so, so while it was there, I was just looking. I was just trying to figure out. I just read it a couple of times, and I was like, "What is Devender saying? What is he saying?" So I thought, let me push it to you.
Could it recommend empirical? No, I don't think I can. No, I can. And it also depends, the concept of testing cryptocurrencies is sort of a broad stroke. To what
Hmm.
degree are you testing a use case? Are you testing a market cap, or what are you testing the liquidity?
Yeah.
What's your question on the test? Does it work? Can you turn it into US dollars? Is it regulated? And I think different currencies are going to have different answers to these tests as well.
So maybe we have given Devender a bunch of questions now. He's gonna figure out which one is best. Then
Yes.
he's gonna come. So Rachel, this is something that I want to know. If I buy, say one Bitcoin today,
Mhm.
right? I buy one Bitcoin today, and if the value of Bitcoin increases tomorrow, right? So have I actually made money? Is that a really valuable money that I have made, and can I transfer that money from that my Bitcoin wallet or to crypto wallet to my actual bank account?
Yes. So if you buy one Bitcoin today and it raises in value tomorrow you will still only have one Bitcoin, but a Bitcoin is going to be worth more. That it does have real USD value. So when we talk about a Bitcoin's worth, we're talking about its fiat value, not
Hmm.
its inherent so cryptocurrency isn't going to double because the USD value went up. It's just going to gain appreciation for
Hmm.
itself. Um, if obviously that makes sense, and I feel like I'm overcomplicating. But yes, so you do get that money. That extra USD value does become yours, and you can turn it back into USD if so you please. So if you buy one Bitcoin today, and one Bitcoin today costs $9,000, and then tomorrow it costs $10,000, and you want to skim off that 1,000,
Hmm.
you can pull that out and easily put it into your bank account. And easy ways to do that again are Coinbase and Cash App, and I recommend those as really simple and consumer friendly ways to turn Bitcoin into back into USD and put it directly into your bank account. You can do bank integrations, credit card integrations, or PayPal if you prefer not to put your bank information into Coinbase or Cash App directly. So that's true.
So if I need to get started with this cryptocurrency back here in India, right? So I can go to Coinbase. I can maybe buy not some bit, not I cannot even buy one Bitcoin. I can a very small, very small percentage of Bitcoin, right? And so what are your best practices when you say long-term investment and short-term investment? What
Um,
is the difference, and how do we figure that out?
So for me, I primarily get paid in cryptocurrency, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm not actually turning a lot of USD into crypto at this point in time. So what I did very early on when I was getting started is I started a dollar cost averaging strategy, which is I put in small amounts of money over time until I was comfortable to where my long-term hold would be. And I do add to that, but overall, I don't touch that because I'm viewing it as a real long-term investment, as a traditional investment might be viewed. And so I keep that there. My short term, I'm being paid in Bitcoin, but I don't necessarily turn all of it into US dollars. I watch it and I wait, and then I take it out and put it into my bank account. And so I think that you're safe in your long-term investment if you're safe in the way you put it there. Don't sell your house right now and then put it all into Bitcoin. That's not a safe way to
Yeah.
so dollar cost averaging is really a great way. And if it's complicated for you, honestly, again, I do recommend if you're using Coinbase or Cash App for these purchases to then take the cryptocurrency and put it onto a non-custodial wallet, which means that you're holding your own private keys and the application doesn't actually own your Bitcoin. You own your Bitcoin. Um, But if you're just using these applications to purchase, they do offer opportunities for dollar cost averaging on Coinbase. Say you want to put $25 in every week, you can just put an automatic purchase through that puts $25 in every week, and that sort of takes the weight off your shoulders. Consider it, maybe you don't eat a fancy meal that week or something. That $25 goes into Bitcoin instead.
That's great. That's great. So I think you uploaded one video that was about this is how I bought it, right?
Yeah, yes, that's one of my first videos. Yes, it's a music
Yeah.
video about buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, so I think I watched it. If you guys, you can just go to Crypto Finally YouTube, or you'll find tons of content over there. And maybe you would like to connect with Rachel with Crypto Finally. She posts a lot of videos. Good morning, boomerangs. Good night, boomerangs. There's a lot of content that comes on Twitter. She's a lot more active out there. Talking about when you create content, Rachel, and when how if you say you focus millennials, right? Right, how are we actually targeting the maybe some senior guys, some senior citizens, and the younger generations? How are they gonna adapt it? More specifically, the senior guys.
How are senior people going to adapt to it? I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I think that it's an unfair expectation that we think everybody's just going to fully understand blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. I do not believe that we're going to see a day where everyone actually understands these topics. I think that it comes down to the developers creating good user interface, good user exchange, like making it simple for people to get involved with it. The same way that maybe grandpa learned how to use PayPal, it's something like that. And it just has to be
Yeah.
very simple, and simple use cases for them. Beyond that, I really don't see a world where grandma and grandpa are suddenly coding and understanding all about blockchain technology. They're not thinking about a distributed, decentralized ledger. They don't care. They care,
Yeah.
hey, can I see that my package went from this place to this place, or can I
Yep.
see that the money actually went through? That's what grandma and grandpa care about. And so it's about sort of gearing the technology towards that, to a more accessible user interface, and that applies to younger people as well.
Yep, yep, yep. You mentioned about decentralized. This just strike me that if you guys follow Crypto Finally, her location on Twitter is decentralized, right?
Yes.
So when I actually started talking with Rachel, I said, Rachel, where you're from? What's your time zone? I gotta know that. So what is the first thing that a layman should understand when he hear the word decentralized? What a layman should understand.
Decentralized, it doesn't exist in one place. There's no one centralized entity. So
Mhm.
there's no one governance. There's multiple governance, decentralized, multiple people have governance over this. And a good way to think about it would be, say that I have one computer, and it's got all of this information in it, right? And the information affects everybody. If I destroy this one computer, that information's gone. If I
Yep.
alter that information, no one knows that I did it because I had the only computer with the information on it. Decentralization puts that information and the set of information across everybody's computers, right?
Okay.
And that makes it so if I make any sort of alteration, or if I destroy my computer, I have not actually destroyed the source information or altered it in a sneaky way, or any way that other people can see. And so that's what decentralized would mean. Decentralized, multiple governance. There's no one centralized authority.
Okay. Okay. So I keep on coming with questions whenever you answer my any of the previous questions. So my hey question is where you say that the data is not stored at one place. It is with multiple people.
Mhm.
Okay. If you destroy your system, the data will be accessible from the other location or from other system. So especially during this COVID-19, all this Facebook and this Twitter, they all are facing there's a lot of traffic, right? So they have some infrastructure they were not prepared with. So when we say the data is duplicated in different locations, are we not just making a really bad data that if I give you one Bitcoin, that's not going to happen. I am not rich. So if that transaction detail is stored with a couple of more people, right? So is that not a kind of bad way of storing the data?
I don't understand the question. Is that a bad way of storing the data?
The data in a mean like I have one data and it's stored in three different locations, right?
Mhm.
So I'm kind of creating a more. I need a more data storage only for to store one transaction, right? For
So
yeah,
what I mean by that is that everyone can see clearly that transaction, right? So it exists
okay.
in multiple locations, so it's public information. I'm not sure I'm understanding your question.
So I mean is if I have a pen drive that has some songs, right, and I take another pen drive, it has again that song, then a third pen drive, then again a song. I believe if I lose one pen drive, I can hear it from the other one, right? But in a way, what I'm doing is I'm increasing the cost, I'm increasing the space, and I also need to maintain it, right? So
Are
when
you
I when
talking about electricity and mining?
Uh, yeah, you
Are
can even say that. You can even say that if I have to store this video, right? I need to have only one copy. If I keep it 10 copies, I need a lot more maintenance. That's gonna cost us, right? That's gonna cost us. So how
yeah,
do we manage with that?
it doesn't really work like that. I'm sorry, I'm still kind of not understanding what you're saying.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
but the idea is the authority is decentralized amongst the contributors, right? And
hmm,
so people are mining Bitcoin and getting block rewards and building things out. And so long as so many people are participating, there's not one centralized authority. So like you're not paying for it to be in several locations. Like that's not
okay.
that thought doesn't that's why I think I'm a little confused. But no, I think that what it does is it provides transparency. And it's also not like doxing your personal information. So if you sent me one Bitcoin, everybody would be able to see that your Bitcoin address sent my Bitcoin address one Bitcoin, right? But all that's going to appear as is a string of letters and numbers sending one Bitcoin to another string of letters and numbers. It's not going to have your information. It's not going to have any personal attachment to you. Now, what I can do is I can take your string of letters and then go look in your wallet and see what you've done and things like that. But it is not attached to you. So it is a private transaction, but it takes place on a public ledger. So if I knew that was your string, then I'd be able to track you. But if I didn't know that was your string, then I would basically never be able to find you.
So I understand it. Like the transaction happens in a public space, but eventually, all the details and the end users, those remain encrypted, right? So it's safe. It's safe.
Yes.
That's great.
And then if you don't want people to follow your details, there are privacy coins like Monero that you can use
Hmm.
that don't leave a public transaction on a blockchain. You won't actually be able to see those transactions occur.
That's great. That's great. I think. Uh, Rachel, why do I hear myself again back? Is there an echo? Maybe
I don't hear it.
you don't hear me
No.
twice.
Is it different than it was like 5 minutes ago? Nothing's changed in here.
Me too. Nothing has changed. I don't know. Maybe something. You you use the StreamYard too, right?
I'm using the link you sent me.
And I think you use StreamYard for your live sessions too.
I use a couple different things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I found the StreamYard the best one. I think I'm gonna change it now after this session, maybe. So it doesn't help me. Uh, I think those was a question that I really went down into watching all your YouTube videos. Anything. I think we're already like 40 minutes per post this live sessions, and maybe we'll just wrap it in next 5 or 6 minutes. Any best practices, Rachel, you would like to give on guys who are moving into a cryptocurrency and may wish to start anything from your side?
Yeah, I'd recommend a dollar cost average strategy, which would be putting small amounts of money into Bitcoin over time and holding on to it in a long-term investment plan. I think that that's a good bet if you believe in the technology and where it's heading. I also think there are a lot of really great ways to get involved that don't involve actually buying Bitcoin. So there are Bitcoin back rewards programs. You can use products like Fold, Lolly, and Pay, which all give you free Bitcoin back rewards when you purchase things with your debit card. So that's just free Bitcoin in your pocket that you wouldn't have seen, that you can get for making everyday purchases on places like Amazon and Uber, stuff like that. So you can get free Bitcoin back with a lot of stuff if you look into that. I think it's really beneficial for people who are wary about putting their money into it. There are ways to receive it. If you download a basic app like Coinbase to try and buy a little bit of Bitcoin, it will generate a Bitcoin wallet address for you, and it will make it super clear that that is your wallet address. Try to use Bitcoin with your friends or your employers if they're open to it. If you're a freelancer and you work in the tech community, chances are people might be willing to pay you in Bitcoin. And that's a really great way to accrue as well if you're not necessarily in a place to put $10,000 into the market, which most people are not. So looking at sort of low risk investment strategies is more or less where I hang out in the cryptocurrency space. Trading can be good, but again, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And so just be careful that you look into your projects and know the difference between a long-term sturdy project and something that an influencer might just be telling you about, that it might see a big moon but it'll crash in 3 days, and there's a difference between that sort of long-term Bitcoin strategy and what they talk about when it comes to altcoins.
That's good. That's good. Well said, Rachel. I think I have one question over here. Maybe you would like to take that. Atul says, I'm not a techie. I don't know anyone who will send me Bitcoin. How do I get some Bitcoin? I think he's asking for some free Bitcoins. I think you just answered, if you use your credit or debit cards in your this all merchandise, then you can get some free Bitcoins, and eventually then you can start using it with your friends and families. So I think that is how Atul can get started and to start working on
Yeah,
this.
I mean, just go ahead and purchase some. Honestly,
Mhm.
purchase a small amount just to play around with it. Like you did, you put $10 into the market to trade.
Yep.
Put $10 into Bitcoin on Coinbase, and
Mhm.
just watch it. Hang out with that $10. See if you're comfortable with what the volatility of the market is, and then maybe put
Mhm.
another $10 in next week. But
Yep.
start slow if you're not comfortable with it, because there are large upswings and downswings. And that's why people talk about making a lot of money, but people also do lose a lot of money.
Yep, yep. Well said. I think my next one would be going and investing in this crypto using Coinbase. I think that's gonna what I'm gonna take from this call is to
Mhm.
put over there, see how it goes, and eventually then be a like maybe 9,000. Maybe someday I can buy entire Bitcoin. I just hope it goes better the other day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's all I think. Thank you everyone who has joined. Yeah, thanks Rachel for her time. She's been very busy doing all the live shows. She does live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yes, yeah, for the most part,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And she talks about what's happening in the past week at the field of this cryptocurrency and blockchain. And then she also comes with maybe a minute videos where she talks about the best practices. Rachel now knows I have been through all her social media accounts and
Thank
right.
you.
So indeed, Rachel is someone who you would like to connect. I think all these social media posts are tagged to her. You can go and connect. This is quite embarrassing to say, but Rachel is not following me back.
Oh, I will follow you back.
Okay. So she shares in the live stream. I hope that happens, right? So this is something I'm gonna do, right? Whosoever comes, I'm gonna ask him or her, "Hey, why don't you follow me back?" Then in the live show, they'll have to follow me, right? So that is something a trick I'm gonna use. Once again, everyone, thank you for joining. I think it's pretty late in India, almost like maybe 10:15, and it's I think lunchtime back in your place. So Rachel, thank you for your time. We hope to connect with you sometime later. You're a busy girl, so thank you once again for your time. We hope
Yes,
that
thank you so
this
much.
was all right. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna end this broadcast. This is how we end. Okay, we end in this way. Everyone, bye.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Okay, I just ended.